sees him.
I would actually say, okay, so this is the concept that I had in mind. I hope it's not too coincidental. So he was using his force powers constantly in the mine. It's how he was finding things. He just didn't even realize it. But when he was being traded to someone else, he was on a Hutt trading ship.
Okay.
And he was chained to a bunch of other slaves. Like each one had the chain going to one wrist, and so on, so on, so on.
Yeah.
And that trading vessel was basically hit by somebody. And I don't know, in my head, it was Arden Lin, was taking the ship, but it could have been somebody else before meeting Arden Lin or something like that. But basically what happened is when they went to go into the slave hold, I had freed myself, but not from the chains. The chains still had the hands of 6 other slaves attached to it, whom I killed to cut their hands off so I could move around without being chained. But I don't even really have a clear recollection of how that all happened. It's fuzzy to me.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, I think I can work with that. So, all right, so again, what we'll do, so I'm going to just sort of totally like make this up on the fly. Let me check one thing here. I'm going to grab one of my handy dandy adversary cards here. For those watching at home, we are using Roll20. So normally what I would do is have these guys in Roll20 and we would do everything there. But adversary cards can be real great. So, especially if you're playing this game live, I would get them because they're very helpful. All right, so you are currently in a situation right now where, yeah, the slave ship is kind of going along, right? And you guys are heading, maybe you're heading out to, another destination in the Outer Rim. You were going to be sent to work somewhere in Hutt space, probably in another mine. And I think what happened was the entire voyage, the captain of the ship is exceedingly nervous. This captain was a nasty piece of work to begin with, but he keeps seeing ill omens everywhere, right? And he feels like this voyage is cursed. And then sure enough, as he's, kind of maybe a day out from his destination, the ship is attacked. And he thinks that it's pirates. And so you're hearing, over the comms, everybody get back into the slave holds. And you got some of the, the enforcers, they come in and they're like, pushing you guys back in with their force pikes or whatever. And then all of a sudden you feel the ship rock, right? And you as it's been hit by something, and the guard that was kind of pushing you in, sort of falls and stumbles kind of into you and trips, and this big, weapon that he's got kind of like is sort of right there in your view. You could probably grab it if you wanted to. But you recognize that you might have an opportunity to do something here if you want to. So what would you do in that situation?
Yeah, I would grab his weapon in that moment.
Yep.
And I would be first, like, I don't know if it would be all at the same time or not, but it'd be immensely targeting him. I'd see his weapon and I would want to pick it up and I would want to kill this person.
Okay. And so you do, you're able to pick up the weapon, but you realize that it's difficult because you've got, these other slaves attached to you and they're trying to run, right? They're trying to, and so you kind of struggle, and maybe you pull the closest one who, the one right next to you, you kind of yank him and he sort of falls down and you sort of tumble as well, but you manage to kind of grapple this weapon out of the guard's hand. And describe to me, like, sort of how you end up kind of killing this guard with his own weapon.
So I think in typical fashion, they're kind of wearing this silly armor that doesn't really like it more encumbers the guard than anything else. And
Mhm.
whereas when I kind of tumble, I'm able to recover quickly. He doesn't fall, but he's just not able to really get his feet under him. And so I would try to take the opportunity to hamstring. Essentially, I would want to cut out the back of his legs, feet, and as far as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe what happens is you kind of like swing this like pike thing around that he's got, and yeah, cut right the back of his legs, and he falls down screaming, right, and then like maybe the butt of the thing right into his face to knock him out. But at this point, the rest of the slaves, they start to panic because you just killed a guard. And they're like, oh no, they're gonna retaliate now. Plus we got pirates, and they're trying to like, and you start to kind of get pulled back as it's basically 5 other guards or not guards, slaves are sort of pulling you back. And so what are you gonna do? You still have access to this weapon.
Yeah, I first I'm just going to kind of like tug of war style try to grab the chain like with my free hand as well, and pull back and just kind of say, stop, you fools. You have an opportunity. Get a grip. We need to work together.
Interesting. Okay, I think I am going to have you do a roll on this one, just because I want to have a couple of rolls here, somewhat inconsequential. What we're going to do is I'm going to have you make probably, you could either do charm, you could do leadership. See what else you could do here. I would say either charm or leadership. Possibly.
I think leadership makes sense. He's attempting to kind of act as a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. What I am going to do, this isn't going to be too difficult because I feel like maybe you have established yourself in the past as pretty strong-willed, but I am going to add 1 setback dice because they're really scared, and the ship is being just pummeled. So it's just going to be against 1 purple, but we're going to use 1 1 black dice as well.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, you can roll that. Okay, so we've got 2 failures, but we've got 3 advantages. Okay, so
this is perfect for what I have in mind.
Okay, what do you have in mind?
Well, I'm not actually. I always am so bad at how am allowed to use advantages. But basically, if I failed, that's why the next part of the narrative happened. I'm going to immediately stab the first. Like I want, whether it's with this or another roll or whatever. But I want to immediately stab the one closest to me, and say, just immediately, like, do you hear me? Like, like I don't. Whatever I got to do to make the point to these people.
All right, welcome everybody to Chalice and Chains. My name is Sam, and today I am bringing you guys Dark Disciples. I guess it's technically session 2, but it is called Anger, and this one we are going to be sending 3 of our Dark Disciples to Tatooine, where they will be responsible for interrogating some people in the secret research facility that Grand Admiral Zarin has set up in secret negotiations with Jabba the Hutt to work on his TIE Phantom project. Should this project come to full fruition, this could largely change the balance of power for the Empire, especially in the Outer Rim. And so this is a big deal. This was also a project that the Emperor hadn't been necessarily aware of until now. And some of the details of this you could see on if you're watching here on Twitch live, it is in the VODs. It's also on my YouTube channel, Chalice and Chains on there. You can go check that out. Got the details there. Also, if anybody's watching this live on Twitch and you haven't done so already, please go ahead and give a follow. Go ahead and click that little, I think it's like a heart or whatever up on the top. Leave a comment on the video if you're watching. I would love to interact with you guys. I will be putting this one up on YouTube probably 24 to 48 hours after we are done. So keep an eye out for that. If you are subscribed to the channel, great. Make sure you click that little notification button so you'll know when the video goes up. If you're not, go ahead and subscribe and, do the same, YouTube thing. Like, subscribe, comment, that whole thing. So we'll probably run about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we're going to see what our Dark Side Force users get up to today. And now I will bring them in. Actually, before we do that, why don't we give you guys a little Star Wars crawl just to set things up a little bit. I'll be back in just a moment. All right. We are live, and looks like my overlay is all screwed up, so that's cool. But anyway, no big deal. So, we are currently aboard the starship, the Chimera. And this is the flagship of Arden Lyn, the Emperor's Hand. Arden is the Emperor's Hand that right now is serving largely with Grand Admiral Zarin. But they have come to find out that the secret research facility that Grand Admiral Zarin had set up in the Outer Rim has been leaked to the rebels, and for some reason Darth Vader himself was sent out to deal with this. When Darth Vader arrived, presumably because there were Jedi that were at this facility, Darth Vader took care of business, but the rebel leader of this mission, Luke Skywalker, managed to escape with plans, secret plans that the Empire was hiding in their computer facility, and managed to transmit that to the rebels. Now, of course, this is problematic for two reasons. For Grand Admiral Zarin, this is highly problematic because he did not want his secret research facility to be known to the Emperor, but it is. And he also needs to know who it was that leaked these plans, because somebody needs to pay for this crime. And so it's with that we are going to start our story. And you guys are aboard the ship, and Arden Lyn has come to you, and she's called you three in particular into the training room. And she says, I have a mission for you that will test you. This will show me whether you will be able to handle the jobs that you will be assigned in the future. If you handle this, great things will come to you. This is a mission of great importance, one that you cannot fail. And if you do, it will reflect poorly not only on you, but on me. You do not want that to happen. He says, there was an Imperial research facility run by a Grand Admiral Zarin, that had a secret project that, should it be completed with the help of the Hutts, could help end this rebellion once and for all. But we've come to discover that the Rebel Alliance themselves have somehow located this facility. They infiltrated it, and they were able to come away with secret and important research. We don't know exactly what yet, but we do have a slicer down there right now ascertaining exactly what files were sent to the rebels. But the Grand Admiral has asked that we go down, find out who it was that leaked this information to the Rebel Alliance so that I may interrogate them. And I thought this would be a good opportunity for you. Our scouring of the personnel files has indicated 3 potential suspects. One of which we are quite certain is our traitor. You are given any means necessary to find out who it was. And if it was not one of these 3, I will be surprised, but I do not expect there to be any surprises. Do what you must. Use the resources that you have at your command and draw on the power of the dark side to draw out the traitor. And once you do, you let me know. We will find out just where their loyalties lie. Let me give you the information, the names of the 3 people. We had, first, the director of the facility itself, Elaine Crenshaw. She has, up until this point, been quite loyal to the Empire. She is an administrator that has served the Emperor well for many years. But the data profile from our droid indicated that certain members of her family may be or could be used against her should a determined saboteur try to get to her. We don't know much more beyond that, so you will need to question her, and I do warn you, she is the director of this facility. She will not take kindly to you, to those of you so young. Next was the lead engineer of the TIE Phantom project, Brea Daniels. And this whole time she's kind of pulling these up on a data pad and showing it to you. And so Brea, she's got dark skin, like very, very dark black skin, dark hair, pretty young, but or at least she looks young. And she she's fairly attractive. And she says she is quite loyal to the director. And I believe that is why the droid picked her out as a possible suspect, because if the director is a suspect, or if it is believed that the director might have been in trouble, then it is possible that this Miss Daniels could have been involved. I will tell you, she is the one I suspect the least, but you will be able to find out. And then finally, the head of security, Commander Steiner. Steiner is loyal to the Empire. And she pauses there for a moment. And then she kind of, looks off into the distance, and then she looks back and she says, and he is ambitious. He was a stormtrooper, actually. Quite a good one. And now wishes to lead the elite Inferno Squadron. But it is believed that he feels he is stuck on this duty post. And from all indications, Breya Daniels has said that this is likely a 2, maybe 3-year project. So he may be unlikely to speak with you as well, or at least unwilling without persuasion. And so those 3 I would focus on. They know that someone is coming. I will be accompanying you as well, but I have other matters to attend to. There is also a slicer down on board, loyal to us, loyal to Zarin, who will be trying to ascertain exactly what it was that was sent. Any assistance that he may require of you, you will give him. Is that understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Master.
Yes, Master.
Very good. And she says, and finally, and then, she normally carries this sort of intimidating air about her, but she looks at you now, kind of each of you in the eye, and she says, this is a time where your fear, your anger, your paranoia will serve you well. Do not suppress it. Harness it. Use it. You don't know the full details of the situation here, but our situation is precarious. The Empire is in a precarious situation, and this is something that we cannot fail. And last, and then she's back to that sort of hardcore demeanor. Should one of you, or should any of you, fail to find who it was, let me just say, your time with us will be short. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Of course, of course.
Very good. And I think what we're going to do now at this point is we are going to roll our destiny points to see, one, to see if the macros are actually working, because I'm not convinced based on last time. But you should be able to go ahead and roll them on the sheet. And Rory, I don't think you're logged in just yet to Roll20.
Yeah, my computer had an update, and apparently it's restarting several times. It's only at 85%. It's been
all
going
right. No worries. I can roll it for you then.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll be honest as possible.
No worries. Roll destiny. What'd you get? Well, so this is good for you. So the way that we're going to play this actually is the reverse of what we might normally do, just for anybody watching. Because these are dark side characters, they will be using dark side points, and I will be using light side points. So and this is how we're going to do this throughout the campaign. So some of the things won't be exactly like you would expect from, sort of core Force and Destiny, but that's okay. However, we will still be using conflict in this, and we will still be, having everything to go along with that using morality. And so mechanically, if they use a dark side point to fuel any of their force powers, they will gain a point of conflict. And should they give in to their anger, their rage, their fear, and do nasty things, that can also gain them conflict, which can shift their morality, which can then have consequences later in the game. So, with that in mind, you guys have some in-game currency that you can play with, so that's exciting. And so what will happen is she basically makes preparations, puts you on the, you guys follow her onto the shuttle. But just as you're sort of getting on the shuttle, one of the ship's personnel, the people that actually fly the crew, the people that fly the ship, kind of come up to her and they're like, Miss Lin, you have an urgent message from in the cockpit. Do you have time to take it? And she looks very annoyed at this point, but she's like, Fine. Yes, I will take it. And then she says, get into the cockpit. Get into the shuttle. We will be departing shortly. And she walks off. And you can sort of hear, as she's walking away, you weren't meant to hear it, but you can. She says, is it the Grand Admiral? And the officer said, the tech officer or whatever says, yes, it is. And she sighs again. And then I think at that point, the doors or whatever to the shuttle close. And so you guys know you have a few minutes. She's provided you each with the personnel files for, Director Crenshaw, Brea Daniels, and Commander Steiner. So you guys have a few moments if you wish to say anything to each other, come up with a plan, or brood and ignore each other. What would you like to do?
Wango explicit. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Wango.
Rainbow. I was gonna say, Wango. He is specifically brooding and ignoring the other two, but if it's possible, I don't know how many copies of those files there are, but if he has any of them, he's flipping through them.
Yeah, they would be on your data pad, so you would each have them.
Yes, then I am actively flipping through that and reading up on each one carefully.
Nice. Okay. And what about the rest of you?
Zar would be looking over the files, and he would look to the others, and he would say, this is our first mission as dark disciples to our master. Perhaps this is a test beyond that which we already know. Perhaps it is to see how conniving we are in ascertaining power and influence. If we do find out who the true criminal is, perhaps we can use their hatred, their fear, to pin it on another, and they will owe us in return. Gaining influence with any one of the true criminals.
Yeah, Saga would look at him and he would be thinking it's not a bad idea. And then he would be flipping through the tablet and pull up the picture of the director. He would turn around and he would be I think it's her. In my experience, I have dealt with a lot of higher power people who do anything to move up, no matter the consequences. And then he would be so, get whoever it is and kill the other two?
Perhaps we can see which one will leverage the most influence for us. There is something to be said of a commander in charge of the Inferno Squadron. If we can place him there, he would be a most useful ally.
That is true. I think it's all yours.
And Wingo, I think you would hear them having this conversation, right? And as you're sort of flipping through the data pad and hearing this, first you would see sort of the image of Director Crenshaw pop up, and she looks like your very sort of typical stern imperial bureaucrat, right? Graying black hair, so she's a little bit older. Severe case of RBF, right? Because everybody has that in the Empire. But she does have a big scar on her cheek. And kind of digging into her profile a little bit, she's actually been involved in several combat situations, not as a member of the Imperial military, but she has actually led security personnel when her a facility or whatever has been under attack, because those are favorite targets of the Rebel Alliance. So she's a tough lady, and she's steadily risen through the ranks, and you see just one after another complaints made against her from junior officers and all kinds of saying she's just terrible and she's mean, but none of them say that she's not good at her job, and clearly she is. So and it also mentions that she has she has family back in the core world. She's got a son and a daughter. And then the engineer, Brea Daniels, well, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I keep missing the mute button. As he's flipping through this, he's careful to read every single thing. But you notice that, unlike Zach, doesn't seem particularly drawn to any of the three.
Yep. And I think maybe as you kind of flip to the next profile, Brea Daniels, younger, black skin, dark hair, fairly attractive for a human anyway. And not, probably not as young as she looks. Somebody that is that skilled and frankly is the lead engineer on a project such as this has to be highly skilled, which you would think means lots of experience or lots of schooling or both. As far as you can tell, she's very loyal to the Empire. She has spent, she's done all the right things, said all the right things. She's worked for the Empire for a long time. You also realize that she has received lots of offers from Sinar Fleet Systems, from Incom, the major CEC, the major starship manufacturers within the galaxy, but hasn't worked for any of those private facilities. So she's been Empire all the way. And then finally, Commander Steiner, he's actually got the least interesting of the files because he's a military man. He was a stormtrooper. He came up through the ranks as a stormtrooper, rose to sergeant to command of the stormtroopers. He's seen action all over the core worlds and the Outer Rim, and in the last few years has been in a series of commands that are typically given to those that they would like to get rid of, but because they have done good work for the Empire, they haven't really done anything to screw up. You can't just kind of push him out, and he doesn't want to retire. So they're giving him, like duty stations or whatever that are plum positions, but he's super ambitious and he does not want this, and you can tell. And he's in fact, it shows in his record that no less than 4 times has he applied or requested commendation and to become commander of Inferno Squadron, which is funny because it seems as though Inferno Squadron's commanders seem to go fairly quickly, but They are the elite of the elite. And so, you know, he's also kind of old. He probably would be on the same age scale as Director Crenshaw, and you know, older, you know, dark hair, but he's very chiseled. Like, he looks like he would probably be a lady killer if he wanted to be. Like, he's, you know, but I mean, rigid, stiff, you know, the sort of the epitome of the high-ranking military commander. And so I think kind of as you've scrolled through that, right, maybe your focus is broken by the shuttle doors opening, and you know, you would see Arden Lynn come in. You might actually you probably would feel her presence, you know, in the Force first, right? And then she comes in, and she looks to the three of you, and she says, "So, you've had time to talk to yourselves. You've had time, presumably, to look through these files. Tell me your thoughts. Who do you think, just from your gut feelings, who do you think might be a suspect?"
Zach would look straight at her, and he would flip the data pad to the lead engineer. He's like, "I'm betting it's her. She looks like she's ambitious, and how the hell is somebody gonna get plans to design without, you know, getting, you know, having to get through all the defenses and everything as easy as they did?"
It is a good theory indeed. And I think she would look next, excuse me, actually, she would just kind of look to the rest of you guys and just be like, "So, Tsar,
This is an interesting case for sure. The Commander Steiner, if he had done this himself, would be quite foolish for the head of security to make himself look like a dimwit who had a rebel group invade and steal files from under his nose. His ambition would be squashed unless someone was trying to set him up, someone who had a cause, such as the director, ambitious herself, probably overshadowed by Commander Steiner's growing ambition to gain a foothold in Inferno Squadron. I believe if she was truly blackmailed, the only person who could find out about this would have been the head of security through his clearances and intelligence reports for sure. So maybe she wants to put an end to his career before he puts an end to hers."
She says, "That is a sound theory. One that I may share, although I would not discount Commander Steiner so easily. When you are denied the thing you want as many times as he, well, betraying those that prevent you from getting what you want, appealing."
I do not make any guesses from this. I need to be near them. I need to feel them. I will know who it is.
Very good. And sort of as that's happening, right, you feel the, you know, the repulsor lifts, you know, and your shuttle is taking off into the door, you know, bay door, and you kind of might be looking out. And I think you would probably sense more than see as you kind of exit the ship through the docking bay, through the, you know, the weird little, you know, force screens or whatever they have, whatever those things are, in Star Wars. And you get closer and closer to Tatooine, and as you descend to the planet, you can just feel this sense of pain and loss and anger and just all sorts of negative emotions swirling on this planet. And I would imagine that it would almost feel like this tension. And Arden Lynn would say to you, "You must feel that this planet roils with anger, with pain, with suffering. Use that if you must. You do what it is that you will do. I remind you again, when you have a suspect, you bring them to me. And I will do the final part of this interrogation. I will say, if one of you discovers them beyond the rest, well, you will, of course, be rewarded. But I will also say that there is value in working together as a team, so the choice is yours. And at this point, you would feel sort of the shuttle start to slow a little bit, and it would go into docking procedures, right? And, you know, we've sort of cut to the scene where you guys are standing at the ramp, right? And the ramp kind of lowers down. And this is like a Lambda class shuttle, right? So, you know, kind of your typical Imperial shuttle. And the first thing is like you're immediately hit with this heat, right? And it's bright. And you walk down the ramp and you see the sand laid out before you, and you see this facility ahead of you. And it does not look like your normal Imperial facility, right? You guys may or may not have seen these, but this looks very much like the architecture that you would expect from sort of a desert planet on the Outer Rim. This is meant to look like maybe the natives had something going on here. So it was well concealed, all things considered. And out in front of the facility, you would immediately recognize Director Crenshaw in her full sort of dress uniform, right? With, you know, all of her insignia and whatever she might have, although she's not a military rank, but she is working in a military facility. So it's sort of that weird, you know, civilian. She's a civilian, but she's higher rank than the military people. And you would also see a battalion, not a battalion, you would see a squad of stormtroopers with, you know, their sergeants, and then obviously Commander Steiner standing sort of right behind the director, you know, at full attention. He kind of snaps to, and so do his men, as Arden Lin and you make your way up. And you would see just this angry, pursed expression on the director's face. She's not, you can tell she's not happy that you're here, but why would she be, right? And Arden barely takes a moment to stop. She acknowledges the director and she says, "Director, it is quite hot out here. Let us go inside. Your people will be at the disposal of my apprentices here. They will ask you questions. You will answer those questions." And you guys can feel this sort of intense, like, something, right? This force, this feeling coming from, you know, just, it seems like coming from Arden Lin, right? And you can see the director, like, squint, and she's angry, and then she says, "I have nothing to hide. Then fine, I will submit to your children here. Let us go." And she snaps her fingers, and Steiner immediately, like, you know, gives a little signal, and the stormtroopers, you know, back into the facility. He opens the door. She walks in. Arden Lin walks in, and she says, "Now." And she looks to one of the stormtrooper sergeants, and she says, "Sergeant, direct me to the main computer console where I will find my man going through the data. You give these men whatever it is that they need, understood?" And she kind of looks around to all the people in the facility, and you just see a curt nod from the commander. You see again an angry sort of pursed lip acknowledgement from Crenshaw. And then the stormtroopers kind of wait, they look to the commander, he gives them an order, they disperse. And you guys are sort of in this facility, it would almost be like the, kind of the entry room, the waiting room, where everybody would then, kind of mill about until they would go to their their facility, their local, their stations or whatever. And the director looks to you guys and she says, "So, which one of you children will be my interrogator first?"
Zach would look at her and be like, "Not me."
Zar would look to Wango and back again at Zach, and he would look at her and say, "All of us."
Wango will grin and wonder if you've been working on your sense powers, because he was thinking the exact same thing.
Okay. So, I think for a split second, when you say all of us, you would definitely see this like look of concern come over her face. I don't think she quite knows who Arden Lynn is, but she's a woman with authority, and presumably you guys have authority too. But she's an important lady, and you seem to be young, so she's like, "What's up?" So she says, "Fine. Then let us go to my office. We will have a drink, if that is okay, if that is permitted. And yes, you can ask me whatever questions you want. I'm sure this is as big a waste of time for you as it is for me, and I apologize for that. Let's go."
Real quick, kind of out of character, would Zar know that Wango is into the sense like he has that kind of because I imagine that you all would know Zar is very martial, very very good at combat and stuff. So would it have been known to him that Wango's into this sensing? Because you may mention of it to Arden Lynn. You're muted, Rory.
Yeah, we didn't play that out. I don't know. I know that Wango had gone almost a decade of using essentially sense without letting anyone know. So I would say his character would probably have kept it close to chest if possible. But I think at the end of the day, it would depend on Arden Lynn, because if she kind of throws us all out there and tells everybody, what we all do, basically, then we'd all know each other's cards. So I'm not sure how she handled us.
Gotcha.
I had a quick question. So, are we allowed to use the Force, or are we not supposed to people are not supposed to know?
She told you do what you got to do. Yeah. This is a big damn deal, and so you can do what you need to do to get answers. Yeah. Zara, unless you were told specifically from Wango, you don't necessarily know the extent of his powers.
Okay. Would Wango have come off as very intellectual? I'm just trying to know what I would think in this moment, because I'm assuming after we all went on the Chimera, there's been a montage that occurs between just session 0 to now.
I would describe Wango as being not so much intellectual, more, I guess, in old school D&D stats, it'd be wise, I guess. But he does seem very intuitive. I would say he has probably slipped up at least once over the course of the time he knows you, and given off the impression that he knows a little bit more about things that he really could only possibly have feelings about and not really knowledge of.
And Zach, your guy, what impression would I have of him?
Well, I mean, he's not really wise or really smart. He's just good at surviving and pretty much doing what he needs to do. He pretty much grew up in the streets, so he's just good at killing and stealing and things like that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, cool. That gives me what I need. So Zara would be "After you, director."
And I think you would, as she kind of makes her way down, the hallway, you would see carbon scoring on the walls, and the electricity in the facility is not as stable as it should be, right? This place looks like it's been in a battle, right? And I think you would still see, like, you would see repair crews like all over the place, right? Fixing whatever, welding the walls and fixing the electrical sockets and just, your normal kind of maintenance after an attack. And there's a lot of anxiety in this place, right? There's a lot of secrets. You could just sense this stuff, right? Like there's a heavy energy here. And sort of the last thing you see before you start to enter her offices, right, is you see this woman kind of look out from this door kind of near the director's office, and you guys would recognize this as Brea Daniels, right? I mean, because you've seen her profile, right? But she's kind of looking like, what's going on? And you would probably notice the director catch her eye, shake her head just almost imperceptibly, and then usher you guys into the office.
Yeah, Sack would wink at her while we walk by.
At who, Brea Daniels or at Director Crenshaw?
Brea Daniels.
Oh, okay. And
it's very much like your next.
Yeah. And she looks very nervous. And so as you kind of enter the offices, right? This is actually the sort of stark, sterile, right? Is maybe how you would call it, offices of a Imperial director, right? This is not, this is a secret facility, but it does not look like the facilities of someone who is comfortable here, has made their home here, right? It's very by the book that you can see. She's got a large desk with a computer terminal, and she seems to have a holovid playing, series of holovids playing up on the screens. A couple of them seem to be displaying Imperial notices and bounties and whatever. She's actually got a feed of like some kind of live animal racing going on. You can't quite tell from where or what the animals even are. They seem to be somewhat exotic, but clearly it's racing. And she would kind of go over and to her desk. There are 2 chairs where somebody might come in and sit down, and then there is a conference table. And protocol should dictate that she sits at the conference table since there are 3 of you, but she clearly doesn't. She goes and sits behind her desk, which means one of you would have to stand. And she kind of leans back in her chair, right? And she's like, "All right, boys, let's get this over with then. What questions do you have for me?"
I have a question, kind of to intimidate her, because I'm pretty sure she don't know we're Force users. But I used the Force to pretty much pull a chair right next to the table that she's sitting in to get her reaction.
Okay. And remind me, do you have the Force power to do that?
No, I just figured we all had the normal Force.
So you guys have some, but that actually is the move power. What I would say in this case, if you want, and I don't think that this is technically how this is supposed to work, but I don't care because it's more fun this way. You could flip a dark side point to do that.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay. And just keep track of this somewhere. You can either on your sheet or just write it down. But anytime you use the Force, if you're using the dark side of the Force, which in this case you would be, you'll take a point of conflict, and that becomes important later because that can affect your morality. So you do take a point of conflict for that. And yes, you pull a chair over from the conference room and it slides across the room, and she's definitely startled, right? And she backs up a little bit and she's like, "Jedi, what's going on here? Who are you?"
He would probably sit down, put his feet on the table, and he would look at her and he'd be like, we're the ones asking the questions, not you.
And Rango doesn't sit. He counts the original chairs and realizes that she had left, made a little power move here. And so he kind of strolls in, kind of looking around the room, and he ends up, he starts to prop himself and pull himself up onto her own desk and sit, like, basically cross-legged style, like, on her desk. I'm assuming it's a fairly large desk, so I'm assuming I'm not, like, in her lap, but I'm, like, sitting on the corner of it. And I just kind of look back at her and I go, it's a nice office. You need more chairs.
And she's definitely taken aback for a moment because sorry, hold on. You're only giving me an option to roll light, so you're gonna. Oh, you don't have to roll anything for this. But yeah, sorry. Use. Oh yes, you're right. All right, this is what we're gonna do. There, I'll do it. Sorry, I forgot because we're playing in reverse. I actually have to use the point here. She's taken aback by you sitting at the desk and responding to her in this way, right? And so Wengo, she kind of looks to you, and the impropriety here is enough to kind of snap her out of her, like, oh my God, there's Jedi. And she's like, please, there are chairs here for you to sit in. This is undignified for someone such as you.
Someone such as me doesn't mind such improprieties. Seems you are the one with the problem.
Well, it is not every day that someone comes into my office and sits on my desk, but I suppose if it will make you more comfortable, fine. And she's back into that, like, indignant sort of whatever.
I think while they're doing that, Zar would kind of, making himself known, go over to the door of her office, and he would say, well, wouldn't want to have any more security breaches while we're here. And he would hit it like to lock, activate the lock. Good. Seems no one else will come in here and harm anyone unnecessarily. And then he would just stand kind of like by the door, trying to show her like he locked the door. Mm-hmm. It's just them.
And she looks back to you and she says, thank you for your concern, but I will tell you, my security officers are very good, and should I need any assistance...
Not good enough, apparently. Otherwise, I wouldn't be wasting my time on this desert trash of a planet. And he'd spit.
And she says, she looks to you, right? And she says, and I presume that you are like him, and kind of nods over to Zach.
And then he would say, he would whip out his two rapiers and he'd say, the only things I move are people's chests into these rapiers.
And she pauses for a minute and she's like, you'll excuse me for my discomfort, but the facility was attacked by Jedi leading a squad of rebels. I had been told the Jedi were extinct. I mean, you can understand, we were all told that, well, I mean, officially, the Jedi are a myth. So, my security personnel, they couldn't have dealt with something like that. Plus, we were not expecting a full-on rebel attack here on Tatooine. Surely you understand that?
I have no time for this dribble. We are here for questions.
She's like, okay, well, what questions do you have then?
Before anybody...
Zar would just kind of like turn his head.
Yeah, before anybody asks any questions, like, Wango kind of like puts his hands like on his knees. He's like, it's like he's not paying attention to her at all. He kind of leans his head back and closes his eyes. He's basically just meditating on the Force. I just want to give a heads up. I don't know how we're doing rounds or anything like that, but he's basically waiting to use his Force power sense when he hears the question he wants to see how she's really thinking about it, basically. So he's timing it. So at some point, I'm gonna say that I just want to use that.
Okay,
Can
yeah.
Can
So
you ask the question while you're? I'm asking out of character. Could Wengo ask it, or is he incapacitated while he's like? Are we going to see him kind of like incapacitated, like he's not responding?
He's not like comatose or anything. He can respond. It's just basically him, like, I don't know, like in like Boondock Saints when like Willem Dafoe's character always puts on classical music and kind of just starts like getting into it. It's kind of like that. It's just like his thing that he does.
Cool, cool.
Oh man, I wish we had like inspiration in this game, because anytime somebody drops a Boondock Saints reference, I'm like instant inspiration right there. But we don't, so too bad. Okay, cool. Yeah, so just like sort of, butt in or whatever when that moment would arise. But yeah, you can see Wengo sitting there being weird, right? Like he's sitting up on her desk, like meditating or something. And she's, the director's starting to get impatient at this point. She's like, "You said you've come here for questions. Do you actually have any questions?"
I would throw a question at her. I would be like, "So I need all ingoing and common communications that," and he would pretty much say her and Bria and Steiner had pretty much before the incident and like a little bit after.
She's like, "Fine, your technician is at the computer terminal. I expect he will be getting that momentarily. I cannot work faster than him, but if you need me to requisition it anyway, I will."
Alright, and then he would be like, "So, the day that this happened, what were you doing? Because obviously you weren't in the facility."
He was like, "No, I was in the facility, of course. But when your facility, the one that no one is supposed to know about, is attacked by not only a large force of rebels, but Jedi at that, and multiple Jedi, well, Steiner did what he was supposed to do. He got me to safety. There are rooms underground below the facility. Many of them are used for storage and materials, but some are used for safe rooms in the event of something like this. Standard Imperial protocol for a facility such as this. That is where I was, and she pauses for a moment, and you can tell she's annoyed, but you get the impression she's not annoyed by your question. She's like, "I would have preferred to stay here with the men, but I didn't have that choice."
So if it wasn't for Commander Steiner, would you have been alive today?
Don't know. Perhaps not. Hard to tell, but as far as I know, the rebels were not here intending to kill the director of the facility, and, well, I would think I would be valuable enough that at the very least they would keep me alive for interrogation. So I do not suspect my life was in danger.
What are your thoughts on the lead engineer, Bria?
You'll have to be more specific.
In this, leaking the TIE Phantom information to the Rebel Alliance. She must have had the files.
No,
she was working on them herself.
No. Bria is... Put it this way, she loves her work more than I think anything else. She's so dedicated to it. She has no family. She has no personal life. She works, and she loves this project. And let us be honest, the rebels, they do not have the resources to take on something like this. No. She wishes to see her project completed. She's exactly where she needs to be.
Could I use a story point here to say that Zar is looking into the data pad once again at the director's files, and I want to know like exactly what's this blackmail that her family members could have?
Well, sure, yeah. So, I think. Let me see. All right, yeah. That's fine. So if you want to use a dark side point for that, what we'll say is that you kind of dig a little bit deeper into the files, and you find that she's got a son and a daughter. Right? Her daughter was.
I was gonna say, I hope her son is killed. I'm kidding.
No, God, no. No, that would be weird. No, her daughter was sort of. She kind of got into like the holovids. She was like a holovid reporter in the Corps. Not kind of big time or whatever, but she seems fairly clean. But there's been a few sort of instances of her that there have been stories, there have been rumors, things that she would have done to get stories, and it was actually rumored that she was about to break a story on a high-level Corellian Engineering Corp executive that was supposedly embezzling, but the story was pulled before she could break it, and she was let go from the network. That particular Holovid news network they gave the whole sort of song and dance, that there was an attitude problem and that she was conducting herself in a way unbecoming of the agency and blah, blah, blah. And so she currently is working as a freelance sort of, what we would consider like a vlogger today, right? Like she's going out, she's the Philip DeFranco of the Star Wars universe. But the circumstances behind it are mysterious. And her son was the black sheep, right? He was the racer, the swoop racer, and he was actually pretty good at racing ships too. Kind of got into a lot of trouble, and there's lots of instances in which she kind of basically used her imperial authority to bail him out of bad situations. And so, it was believed that, his current whereabouts are unknown, at least according to the personnel file. But he was involved with various criminal syndicates and on a minor level, just kind of getting into trouble. He seemed like he was a bit of a wild child, and the good mom would always kind of try to get him out of that trouble instead of letting him face it.
I have a quick question. In that data pad, would it show where her kids live and all their information and stuff?
It could, but it doesn't actually. The daughter, it kind of just bounces around the galaxy, chasing stories, and the son's whereabouts are currently unknown, at least according to this data pad.
Yeah, Zach would flip through the data pad where he shows a picture of her daughter, and he would point it at her, and he would be like, if we don't get the information we want today, I'm gonna be sure to to pay her a visit. And you already saw what I can do. I have no problem tracking anybody across the galaxy.
She kind of looks at you and just pure malice, right, in her eyes at this point, and she says, "I've been nothing but forthcoming with you. Why do you feel the need to threaten me?"
You need to give us something that's going to help us out. We came here because somebody leaked information to the rebel. So somebody here needs to be punished for it.
She's like, "I am the director of this facility. This happened on my watch. You don't think I would like to find answers? You do realize I'm going to lose my job. And I'm likely going to be getting to spend a great deal of time with the ISB. So if I could give you answers, I would give you answers. But I don't have any. I haven't had time."
Wango's eyes kind of open up, and he just looks at her and says, "Those do seem like terrible ramifications. What do you think it would take someone like you to knowingly walk into all that?" And then I'm going to cast sense, or use sense.
Okay. And to sort of sense her surface emotions and stuff like that? Or
Yeah, let me check, because actually you told me I could kind of use. I had more experience last time, and so I added something.
yeah. Let me
Let
know
me-
how you're planning on using it.
Oh shoot! Wait, I'm sorry. I think I only wrote the name in here. Do you by any chance have the file up, or have it? Because I could pull the PDF up. I took the control upgrade. I think that allows me to go. I believe that's what this one is. It's one step up on the. Like I can read more than just surface emotions.
Okay.
I just can't remember, because I think I wrote the name in because I was a little confused by the mentor experience thing last time.
Yeah. Let me power.
I think it is one of the last. I think it's the second to last horsepower, if I'm not mistaken.
So you took the control upgrade.
I definitely took control, and I took duration.
Senses the current thoughts of one living target with whom he is engaged. Okay. Okay, so you'll want to roll your force dice.
Okay. And I also have one more upgrade. So I took, like I said, I took control and duration.
Yep.
And that one that you're talking about.
Yeah, that was the control. Well, so did you take it from the left side of the tree or the? Oh, I see. You took it from both. So you took control, duration, and then control on the other side too.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was confused because it just said control again, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't understand, because I know I didn't take the same one twice, so that's why I was confused. Okay, I got it.
Okay, gotcha. So that's effect. All right. So yeah, you'll still, but you took duration from the left side. Okay. Since ongoing effects may be triggered one additional time per round. Oh, all right, cool. Yeah. So still go ahead and roll your dice. Yep.
Force dice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh shoot! Sorry, I hit clear instead of roll.
Oh, that's okay. All right. And so you can certainly draw on the dark side of the force. Remember,
I'm below 30.
Yep. That's
so I don't
fine.
believe I take strain, but I still take conflict.
You do still take a point of conflict. Yep. But no strain because yes, your morality. You are a full-on Darksider. And so you asked her under what circumstances would you do something like that, and let me just take a look at one thing here. Okay. So the immediate thoughts that you're reading from her mind are, these guys have no idea how bad this all is. Like, these puppies are walking in to a kennel that has some dogs that are willing to bite. And then also she was like sort of thinking about the question that you actually asked her. She says money or to get something, thinking money or to get something you can't get with money, if money isn't enough. And then she would look to you and she would say, I mean, I suppose money, the Rebel Alliance would probably pay a lot for information like that.
And then he would just nod and say, yeah, I don't know if they have the resources. And then he just kind of goes quiet again, just looks back towards like Czar and Zach.
Nice. And tell me, as you're looking back, I would imagine you had to sort of channel this like sort of negative energy to kind of fuel this force power. How are you sort of feeling as maybe you didn't quite get the answer that you were looking for, or maybe you did and you're just not recognizing it, but how is this sort of internal conflict, if you are having an internal conflict, playing out?
So perhaps I'm reading too much into this and I might be taking liberties with the Force, but correct me
Let's
where
do it.
necessary. I think he went into it based on the room, and he was looking for the dark side of the Force, of course, and found it. And I think the different Force sources have different like taste to them, sort of thing. And he was expecting the taste of anger, because he expected anger to be the overwhelming emotion in this room. And he was mildly surprised, but in a pleasant way, because he sort of likes this. He thinks that he tastes or feels, senses more fear than anything else. But he's sort of disappointed because it's not fear of him.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be kind of an accurate depiction of her. Cool. Yeah. So she looks up and she says, "But you're probably right. I mean, yes, Rebel Alliance may pay for that, may be willing to pay lots of credits, but I suspect it's not worth it. I mean, Rector's position in the Empire, especially on a project in a facility like this, well, let us just say, want for that I can't buy."
And now, I'm a little unclear about the mechanics, but may I trigger the second firing of that? Is that the way that works? Can I? Okay. So I'd like to
think so, based on the duration upgrade. Well, it looks to me like the second duration upgrade actually affects the control upgrade. But let me just take a look. Going commit once per round when an attack targets the Force user, he upgrades a different. Oh no, never mind. Sense affects me. Sense's ongoing effects maybe triggered one additional per round. Yeah, let's say it does. I think that makes sense. Whatever. If it's not, then we'll figure it out afterwards. So sure.
And now, technically, I want to say that I think the first time you were supposed to roll something to beat it, because it upgrades the difficulty pool by 1.
Well,
so I think she's supposed to roll.
It depends, because I think it depends on what you're using.
Okay.
Because you can see that the sense power can be used in different ways, right? And so the left side of the tree more is for when you're being attacked. You can sort of sense the attack before it happens. Then that's the higher difficulty. But the right side of the tree is more of the sense.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
So yeah. So in this case, I think again, channeling, maybe picking up on that fear and channeling that fear and sort of heightening it a little bit. She says, I can buy anything, and you sense deception in her. She's actively trying to not think about the thing that that she's trying to conceal, but you kind of get this this sense of this male presence. She's thinking about somebody, some male presence, and trying to hide that.
And Wengo thinks it's not ironic, but it's funny that she used the word, "There's nothing that I want that I can't buy."
Right.
And not need. The two are different.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, she kind of just sits back and she waits, and she's looking to see, what are you going to say? What are you going to do?
Director, before we waste anyone else's time here, if you have no leads, please tell us now and paint yourself in a more poor light than you already have.
And she looks a little bit angry at that, but she's like, believe me, if I had leads, I would have told them to Lord Vader when he asked me the same question.
You're lucky you're alive.
And she
Commander Steiner should have left you here when the rebels attacked.
Commander Steiner is nothing if not by the book. But he is ambitious.
Zara kind of like kick the floor and look at Wango and Zach. Do you
Wango
two have any
stands
other
up.
questions?
Wango just responds by standing up and basically walking towards you, showing her the back, not really caring too much about her anymore.
Director, you may leave. We're going to use your office to interrogate the others. Send them our way. Thank you.
I think Zach will walk real quick to Caesar and like pretty much whisper in his ear, if she's like no use to us, should we just get rid of her?
Well, that was not your directive, but if you want to get a whole bunch of conflict, you can.
I don't know if Wango picks up on that thought, but he thinks it's a bad one.
Wait. You're right. Hold on. You said, so, what's her name? Arden said bring the traitor to her. Does anything about anybody else? Meaning if director is not the traitor, no one gives a shit if she's dead or not.
You can interpret it that way, sure.
There's nobody else in the office but us four, right?
I think Wango kind of picks up on what you guys are doing too, and he kind of is like, let's wait till we know exactly who it is.
With that, Zach would like sit down, but he's still thinking about it though.
I'd like to know which one of the dominoes needs to fall before we start tipping them all over.
And this is where, the one party member has to fight the inner murder hobo of the other party member to stop this craziness from happening. However, if you want to try to kill somebody, you can kill somebody, but it seems as though you guys are done with this one, so perhaps interrogate the next one might be a good idea.
Yeah, as I would say, send in. He looked at the other two, Brea or the commander.
She
Which do you
says,
prefer? I'm not talking to you, command director. I'm talking to my fellows here. You are a suspect. You'll be treated as such.
and she looks to you and she says, with all due respect, I'm a suspect. Why are you letting me go without observation?
Wango would turn to her and say, I'll know where you are at all moments. Don't doubt it.
Yeah, with that, Zach would turn around and be like, look, just don't leave, because we wouldn't want any accidents to happen to you.
Fine. I will do you a favor. Brea's closest. I will go get her. Bring her in here. But listen, she couldn't have done this. She's the least likely. Just remember that. And then she leaves.
One moment, director.
Or she will try to leave, but
Do you have the commander's, Commander Steiner's calm frequency?
yes,
May I have it?
of course. And she, kind of like writes it down on an actual piece of paper and, pen and hands it over to you. And she says, yes, this is his comm frequency, but you can access the central comms to the whole facility from my computer there if you need to.
Stand by. And then Zara would kind of go over and... Doot, 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 doot. Commander Steiner, this is, we're conducting an investigation on your facility. We request you apprehend the director until we release her. Send Brea our way.
Says, apprehend the director.
For a safeguard, keeping you all by the book, you understand Imperial Protocol 562. During active investigations, all suspects must be apprehended and under Imperial Guard.
He says, understood. But I must say this is quite
Good.
irregular.
Click!
All right.
As the commander, I'm sorry, not the commander, as the director goes to leave, I would just want to whisper so only she can hear that she should be careful. Even wolf pups can take down a hunting dog.
Oh, snap.
And you would expect that I mean, that should intimidate anybody, right? But she looks up at you with this almost this look of resignation, and she's like, "You're not wrong, but I do not fear wolf pups when the pack leader is likely to take me down for this. You don't survive something like this when you hold the station that I do. Good day." And she leaves. Like, she
Zara
fully
would be, like, at the
expects to
door.
be like screwed.
Zara would be at the door that he locked,
Yeah.
waiting for the guards to arrive to escort her before he lets her go.
Yeah, and they do, and right, and the storm drain is like, and you see Commander Steiner, and he looks at you, Zara, and he says, "You guys didn't bring your own guards, your own soldiers."
We have the best here. We hear you are looking to take over Inferno Squadron.
And he's sort of taken aback by that, and he's like, "That's fine. Well, where would you like me to keep her? In the brig?" It's like,
Your facility.
they have a brig?
I think Zach would look back at Caesar and he would be like, "Why don't you dump her in like a shitty bathroom or something?"
Are you saying that to Commander Steiner?
No, Zach is telling Caesar to tell him to pretty much jump her somewhere filthy, since she feels all high and mighty.
He would just tell the commander wherever he wants.
Copy that.
That's messed up, Zach.
And he's like, yeah, he's like,
I can see Zach using the restroom, taking a big, and then telling her to go in there, just leave it in.
She needs to learn her place, bro.
Zach has a subplot here
he's
to
so mean.
plunge the Empire into a Marxist revolution.
Yeah. And so she would, as Commander Steiner is sort of taking her away, she says, "And Commander, they need to see Brea. Why don't you have one of your men send her in?" You're like, "Yes, ma'am." And I mean, he's giving, you can tell, he's giving deference to her, right? She is the leader, she's his commanding officer. So essentially you've commanded him to arrest and detain his commanding officer. And he's complying, but he's very deferential to her. And so one of the stormtrooper sergeants kind of goes off, and a couple of minutes later you see Brea Daniels kind of like, what is this? What? I'm busy. I don't have time for this right now, please. And then she kind of sees you guys, and she goes quiet at that, and she's like, "Oh, what can I do for you, gentlemen?" And so far, she's the stormtrooper kind of pushes her in the office, because he's pissed at this point.
Zar would lock the door and do the whole thing again and let the other two ask questions while he's kind of sitting there intimidating.
Yeah, Zach would be like, "Please sit down," and he would pretty much get off his chair and sit down in the director's chair.
And as you do that, you would see Brea does seem a little bit miffed by the fact that you're doing that, and she says, "What have you done to Elaine? What to the director? What is going to happen to her?"
Nothing bad if y'all comply with the assistance we're asking.
Of course. I'm sure she has, but she couldn't have done this. This wouldn't make any sense. Just don't hurt her, okay?
Miss Daniels, I would be far more concerned about yourself. This is a precarious situation. Somebody needs to be blamed. That's our job. I'm not saying we're great at it, but somebody will be blamed. And yours is the weakest position. So either you did it, or somebody doesn't care if it looks like you did it.
He's like, wait, you think it was me? What? Why would I do it? And she's like, how much do you know about what we are working on in this facility? And I'm gonna say that actually happened, that you said that, and she's like, she kind of looks and she's like, oh, well then you should know that I love this project and that I want to see this through to the end, and I would never ever jeopardize that by giving it to the damn rebels. They couldn't even. And then she's like, they don't even have scientists smart enough to know what to do with a project like this.
It's a good point. And he'll look to Czar and Zach.
It's like,
He'll
shit.
say, I don't believe she did it, but it would be nice to keep it in the back pocket. If we can't prove a director or a security chief, you could always blame it on her. The investigation wouldn't be as rigorous.
Czar nods approvingly.
Yeah, so that's
She's like,
Listen here, girl. If you do love this project, who do you know that would like to see it destroyed?
no, nobody. What? I mean,
Obviously, someone does.
yes, but why? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is a secret facility. If anybody leaked it, that's certain death.
Yes, it is.
It can't have been anybody. I mean, and then she starts thinking about it, and she's like, I mean, I don't even know who it could have been. And then she sits back, and like the weight of this whole thing hits her, and she's like, oh, but of course. I mean, the only people with access to that kind of information would be Elaine, myself, and I guess probably the commander. But I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. And she seems to like be spinning off into like this, you know, she's trying to figure this whole thing out. She seems very methodical, but like she works with machines, right? And she, you know, she's like, she knows how to put pieces together, but generally for like highly advanced spacecraft, not necessarily schemes.
Wango is. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Jose, your mic is really low too. I don't know if it's just me, but
you hear me now?
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, my bad. No, I was gonna say like, well, she's nodding off. He would start like snapping his fingers, and he would be like, "Look, somebody tried to sell your information to the rebels, and they got past all securities, and they're pretty much blaming you for this. So pretty much, if we don't find who it is, you're the one who's gonna be blamed for it.
She's like, but
And
who-
more than
who's-
likely you're gonna die.
who's
so-
blaming me? Who was it? It couldn't have been me. Who would blame me?
Whoever
else
did
had
it.
access to it?
She's like, but it doesn't make any sense. And then she kind of looks at you and she's like, you don't know anything, do you? You don't think it was not the commander, sorry. You don't think it was the director, do you?
Wango's going to look to Zach and Czar. He's going to throw a suggestion out there. I'm going to say to them, I don't think this one did it. She might even be smart enough to figure it out. I think we should let her sit somewhere, have a little time to jog her memory. She's the one capable of building spacecraft. Perhaps we give her brain a little time. She might work this one out too.
Should we keep her with us while we interrogate the next person?
I could still be wrong. I'd rather her not be privy to other people's confessions.
So we have the commander lock her up for now, and we'll interrogate him, and we'll convene our own justice afterwards.
I will remind you, maybe as this is happening, maybe you were searching through the, the data pad again, just looking at her profile, and you do remember that one of the things that stood out that made it think that she might be a suspect was that she had received several offers from places like Incom and Sinar Fleet Systems. Now, Sinar particularly are the ones that make the the TIE fighters, right? So it makes sense. But like, if she were to be in charge at a highly advanced and wealthy, shipbuilding place like that, that could be a thing, right? And so that's why, beyond just the fact that she, she's the smartest one here, that's what tripped up the sort of the droid that was going through all of this and sifting the information.
Like, on a meta level, I think there's like two sides to this story. It's either Elaine's or Steiner's.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine forced Bray on us first, but I don't know. I feel like we all kind of wanted to talk to Steiner.
All right.
Yeah, I think that Zar would have seen that, and his logic would be, what is spilling this project to the rebels have to do with getting hired by
right. Yep.
these other companies?
Yeah, makes sense for sure. Okay. Cool. So, you guys, as of now, have Steiner kind of watching.
One last thing. Zar would kind of like remember real fast. I think you said this in the file thing.
Yeah.
I wrote it down in my notes.
Do you know the commander to have any sort of trouble that we should be aware of? Personal or otherwise?
Commander Steiner?
No, sorry, the director.
The director? No, I mean, I don't think so. She doesn't really share that kind of information with me, but
She hasn't been stressed recently, overburdened.
well, I mean,
Before this incident.
well, I would imagine being the director of a project that you can't speak about on a planet where we're not meant to be, and yeah, I would think she was stressed, but to be honest, I don't spend much time with her. I'm mostly in my office and in the lab.
Very well, I'm done here. Commander Steiner, you may take this one away, and we have a few questions for you. Formality, of course, nothing to be worried about.
He's like, copy that. I'll send my unit to detain Dr. Daniels, and I will be on my way. And so, a few minutes later, right, stormtroopers come in, and they, as stormtroopers do, fairly roughly, manhandle Brea Daniels out of here, and she's protesting. What are you doing? Leave me alone. You can't do this. She's pissed. But I think Wengo especially, you would sense this like relief, right? Which makes sense because she's like, oh, phew, nobody like suspects me of doing something that I didn't do. At least that's how she thinks of it, right? And then the commander he's there. Steiner is standing there, right? And he's in his full he's in like dress uniform. Because unfortunately this is a weirdly formal occasion. But it's rank insignia and all of the different medals showing, the different like commendations that he would have received throughout his time as a soldier, right? And he's even got like a 501st emblem, an older one on there, like that he seems to have prominently displayed. And he's just sort of standing there, kind of staring you guys down, like, what? Bring it.
I see like Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men, and like when he's on the stand in his dress.
Yeah.
He's wearing dress uniform.
Yep.
I did the code red, damn it.
Yeah. It's like, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Yep. Yeah, he's definitely no nonsense, like decorated veteran. And he's standing there sort of at formal attention.
At ease. We may have a seat at the conference table.
And Zar wouldn't be intimidating this time, and he wouldn't be locking the door.
And you would notice that Steiner moves around and he picks the chair at the conference table that basically positions his back to the wall so that he can see all the entrances. I mean, very much like, and he's looking around, scanning the room. Doesn't seem paranoid, but just like this is routine, right? And then he sits down and he's just waiting and he's not saying anything. He's just looking at you.
Commander Steiner, as head of security in this facility, what is your leads on who might have leaked this information?
And he's like, unfortunately, I don't have any leads as of yet. We're going through the slicer. I mean, he's the one. He's going through the computer systems. I imagine there must have been some kind of communication out of here, but as of yet, we haven't found it. Whoever did this covered their tracks.
The director, do you have any reason to suspect her of wrongdoing?
The director? Why would the director do anything? That doesn't make any sense.
We have reports that her children. One is a reporter who would love to leak classified information for her career, and her son, unknown whereabouts, who knows who he's affiliated with. Alliance or otherwise, worse.
And he says, I could see it, but I don't. And he's hesitating, and you can tell he's trying to figure it out, right? And he's like, I mean, I could see the motive could be there. And I suppose perhaps she could have the kind of knowledge to get into the computer and make that kind of communication and then wipe it from the database, but you would think a slicer would have found that by now. I mean, that can't be that hard to find, can it? Like, director.
And her protege, the doctor.
No.
Engineer.
No, it can't be Brea. It just, I mean, she's probably smart enough to do it, but there doesn't seem to be any motive there. I mean, there's nobody more devoted to this project than her. I don't see it.
Zara turned to like Zach and Wango, and in front of Commander Steiner, he would just tell him, "Isn't it true, Wango and Zach, that our master Arden Lin has connections with Inferno Squadron? She can probably put in a by-name request for someone who assists us in an investigation such as this, no?"
They could. The Inferno Squadron is the best.
Like, you have pull with Inferno Squadron? Or your commander, that is?
Looks over to Zach as well.
Yeah,
And
Zach will
says-
look at him and he will be like, "We can get you there. You gotta help us out."
He's like, what do you need?
Just tell me, what exactly would you do to get off this desert and into the cockpit at the head of the Inferno Squadron? And if it's okay, I'm going to roll my force dice again to try to sense any of his extra thoughts here on the matter.
So you can you can draw on the light side of the force, but I think probably what's going on in the air right now is that you actually sense a decrease in the tension and a decrease in the fear, because now you're sort of enticing him with something that he wants, and so he's thinking, oh, okay, I have an opportunity here. This is good. He's not nervous necessarily, and so there's not that same negative emotion to draw on that there had been with the other two. Did you still want to do that?
I do mechanically, is it any different? Like, do
so
I
you will take strain. Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
right, because I'm full
Yeah,
dark, so
'cause
it always causes
Yeah.
me strain.
So it will cost strain. If
Yeah.
you want to use
I am-
those. Yeah.
I'm gonna use it. Do I take one strain or two?
Well,
Because it's 2
I
points,
think
unless-
you only need to use one of those force points, right?
Yeah, I do. I do
yeah.
only need to use
So
one.
you
I'm
would
just not
only
sure if I
take.
have. Okay.
Yep, you'd only take one.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little weird for me. My usual environments were, perfect places for fear and pain and anger and everything like that. So I was usually drawing on those. And I'm a little bit. It's a little odd to draw from it this way. It's almost a little bit harder for me to use the light side because it's so unfamiliar.
Yeah.
But I do.
Absolutely. And I think being in this situation where it's not really manipulative, it's not really a terrible thing. It's just providing potentially somebody with something that they want in exchange for information that's truly needed. And so he looks to you and he says, I'd do anything to be in that position.
Does he think anything to the?
Oh,
the
right. I mean, basically, he's thinking the same thing. He was, he's like, actually, what he's thinking, the senses that you get is like, he wants me to turn on somebody, but I don't have any suspects. I don't know what he wants. Oh, you're muted. I don't know if you are actually muted.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wango's going to turn to the other two, Zach and Zar, and he's going to say, what's he going to say? He's going to say, I don't think he knows anything to help us. However, he might be able to do something to help us.
Exactly.
I think with that, Sack would look back at his comrades and then he would look at the commander and he would put his hands down and he would be like, look, Commander, you're a suspect in our list, but we do not find you as a suspect. So if you help us find whoever did this, we will help you, be what you want to be. We will be more than happy.
And at that, just as he's about to say something, you hear this. And, I'd imagine you all kind of jump a little bit. And then, he stands up and he kind of looks to you guys like, should I go to the door? And then he just does it because that's just what he's, whatever. And he opens the door and it's one of his stormtroopers and he's like, Commander, we got a problem. We need you out here immediately. And he kind of looks back to you guys like,
What's the problem?
and the sergeant looks to the commander, and the commander nods his head, and then he says, the slicer that they brought, he's been killed. And the commander's like, what? What do you mean he's been killed? So he got up from his terminal. He's gone longer than we expected. The lady asked, what's her name? Miss Lynn asked us to find him. We found him dead in one of the rec rooms.
We get any footage of who was near him or what went on?
He says, the guy looks to you, and then he looks to the commander like, what is this guy? Well, you don't quite get, because he's got his helmet on, but he says, you can maybe sense it a little bit, and he's like, no, sir, this is not the kind of facility where we have lots of cameras around, if you understand what I mean.
Good.
When was this? When was he found? When did he leave?
He's like, just not 10 minutes ago.
And when did he leave the terminal?
Maybe 5 minutes before that. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly. It could have been less time than that.
And we locked down the facility.
Sure.
Yeah, we should probably do that and figure out who killed this guy.
Yeah.
While they're talking, can I flip a story point, or sorry, a dark side point?
Yep.
To like, I want to go to the director's desk, and I'm assuming like all good Imperial directors, there's like a blaster they may have in there, like their service weapon. I want to open a drawer and see like if she had like I want to find her unused service weapon.
Sure. You find the drawers to her desk locked.
Commander, can you open this?
He's like, no, I don't have the key to the director's thing.
Who does?
Well, the director.
You had to spend a dark side point to look to see that it was locked?
No, he's looking for information, but I'm not gonna make it that easy for
Well,
him.
no, I want to open. Yeah. I wanted to open up her drawer and find her gun.
Yeah, he's like,
he
says to you, he's like, those fancy knives, swords you got there. You hit that lock with a little bit of force with that point, pop it right open.
No. Who has the key to this?
The director.
Good. Is there a service weapon in there, do you reckon? As the head of security, you should know every registered weapon in your facility?
Like, she didn't have it on her when I took her out of here.
Good, then it's still here, yes?
Presumably. I couldn't imagine how it wouldn't be.
Stand outside the door, please. Wait for our orders.
Sam, can I ask, because it's a little bit hard to figure time. In that time period, let's call it a 5-minute time period that he was up from his terminal before they found him, was that when we were talking to Elaine, when we were talking to Brea, or when we were talking to the commander?
It was definitely probably in the time period. Maybe you were wrapping up with Brea and maybe, bringing the commander in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt we know an exact time.
Well, actually, no, it probably would have been when you were talking to Brea, because you guys, I mean, in game time, you probably talked to her for a little while. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we talked about it. Cool.
So, if they step out for a second, Zara would tell Wengo and Zach, he'd be like, I think this is our opportunity. We can use the commander here to give him a spot on the Inferno Squadron if he does assist us. We bring the director here with a key, unlock the drawer, find her service weapon, dump the Slicer's body in here, shoot it with the blaster. Simply arrest her. The Slicer got too close to finding the information he needed. We will have Arden's suspect, and we'll have a commander who owes us a great deal.
I think Zach would look at Tharn and be like, we could use an ally.
I don't disagree with creating an ally out of the commander. My concern is that they clearly were not working alone. If we arrest one and the problem continues, Arden Lynn may not be as rewarding as she's led us to believe she would be. And he would probably go on to say, he'd be like, Crenshaw was in the brig. I'm firmly confident that the commander is clueless on this matter, and Brea was here in the room. So who killed the Slicer?
And I think, probably as you guys are talking about this, the commander would say, I should probably lock this place down and I can help you guys find out this information. I mean, something like this, somebody getting killed in this facility, there's no way that would go unknown. I mean, we'll find the weapon, we'll find the person. It's just a matter of time, but I can't do it if I'm standing here.
What are we waiting for? And he would look back at Zach and Wendy to see what they think.
I say we let the commander do his job. We can discuss any more intricate plans amongst ourselves. Kind of looking at Zar, basically not ruling Zar's plan out, but not saying they're going to do it in front of the commander either.
Bro, why don't we take a stroll with the commander and see how he conducts business? ensure he doesn't get taken out next.
Good idea.
Commander, we shall escort you as you lock down the facility and conduct the investigation.
He says, very well. Then let's go. And why don't we use that opportunity to take like a 5-minute break or whatever. And we can return here, in about 5 minutes and see if we can get to the bottom of who this dirty, dirty traitor is. Sound good? Alrighty, cool. We'll reconvene in 5. All right, so Zar, what is the sort of the concept that you have for where we would start?
So I imagine, he's in his early 20s. You kind of see, like, if it's a Star Wars movie or an episode, you see kind of like the panning down to Dathomir, the planet, and he's with the Knight brothers, who are all Zabraks, who are, where Darth Maul comes from. All the Zabraks are Force sensitive. They're subservient to the Knight sisters. But Zar is a human, and his family, their ship crashed there. He survived, and now he's like the slaves to the slaves. So the Knight brothers, they use him to do like their little errands and things like that. So they've abused him and mistreated him for, I would say, about a decade now.
Okay.
And I imagine that there's a scene where there's like an Imperial shuttle or something coming down to the planet, and it draws the attention of the Knight brothers, who leave their like base camp to go meet this shuttle, and they leave back Zar to tend to the camp, and there's one Knight brother who remains there, and it's Zar's like kind of master, and he had a set of rapiers that were very well ornate, and the master's kind of like sleeping because he doesn't expect Zar to do anything, and Zar takes his opportunity to kind of like go and grab these rapiers and make his escape.
Okay, and I think that one thing that Zar would have realized is that this sort of tribe or whatever that you're with, it's very small. Like there's very, very few people on here, and they claim to be some of the original Knight sisters and Knight brothers. But as you guys have sort of traveled Dathomir with these guys, you realize like they might be the last of them, or if they're not, you don't know. So there's very few left. And yeah, I think what's happening is as the shuttle, this Imperial shuttle, is coming down. So Jose, you noticed the images are all different. That's because somebody turned off their camera. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Rory or not. I think he just covered his. So, oh, you did,
No,
yeah.
It was Jose.
See, so that's why we don't want to do that, but that's okay. So let me see if I can fix it here. But bottom line, what ended up happening was, actually, if you turn it off and turn it back on again, see if that works. It might restart it. No, bummer. Oh well, that's all right. We'll fix it later. But so Zar, as the shuttle is coming down, and you actually see a few shuttles coming down, you again sense this just incredibly dark, dangerous presence. And you've sensed something like this before, right? In the presence of the Knight brothers and the Knight sisters, and throughout Dathomir, there have been certain points on the planet that just seem to resonate with this kind of dark energy. But those were sacred places, right? Those were places of immense power. The fact that you can feel something like this emanating from one of those ships definitely gives you pause. And so as you run in and you you kind of like grab your rapiers and you come out, your master begins to awaken because he starts to sense something as well. And I think that you would be kind of sneaking back out at this point, rapiers in hand. But it's difficult to focus on your task at hand because you just this sense, something bad is going to happen. So what will you do? You will be able to get the drop on your master if you want.
Yeah, he's been playing his escape for a long time, and he knows how these Night Brothers are. He's going to try to take this guy out.
Okay, absolutely. So I'm not going to make you roll or anything because he's completely distracted by this thing coming down. In fact, you see him kind of looking up at the shuttle, and he starts to mutter. And so if you want, go ahead and describe to me kind of like what you would do to take him out.
So he would, I assume the guy's like looking at the shuttles. And Czar would quickly just run up behind him, and he would grab him by the head, and he would shove the rapier through his neck. And he would whisper in his ear, "You have trained me well, master, but it is time for me to finish what you've started." And then he'd just like rip the rapier out, and he'd have a second one, and he would plunge it through his chest. And then he'd like kind of kick him so that he slumps forward, wounded or lifeless, as he had one rapier shoved through his neck and one rapier shoved through his chest.
Oh, wow. And I think as he sort of, gurgles and, in his death throes or whatever, I imagine maybe he's sort of like, as he's falling, he kind of turns to you and lets out this sort of rasp. All right, so we're back. Hopefully find out who the traitor is. So we left off with you guys basically accompanying the commander, just trying to see what it is that he's doing. And he goes through the process of getting his security personnel, his officers, as well as obviously the stormtroopers themselves, and they lock down the facility first and foremost. They've got guards standing over the computer terminals and any possible ways of calling out, right? And they go through the process slowly, and this is going to take a while of interrogation. And it's at this point that Arden Lynn basically sees you guys, and she's like, come over here. Like, I want to talk to you. And she, as you kind of come over, she says, "This is a turn of events that does not bode well. Have you figured out who the suspect is?"
It is my belief that it is not the commander. I have doubts about both of the others, but the director is my lead suspect at the moment. And then looks over to Czar and Zach, because he's only speaking for himself.
Czar would nod.
Why? Why is the director your lead suspect?
She is fearful of something. Not what she should fear in the Empire. Perhaps it is within the Empire, but it's not in an official capacity. She fears something outside the chain of command.
What is
the type
it?
of irregularity, I don't know yet.
Then why don't you press her?
She will be.
You don't have much time, Wango. Clearly, the Slicer was onto something. Whoever it was that did this did not want him finding the missing data. The data that would show who called out.
Wingo kind of looks to the other two. And he says, I believe that we wanted to have talked to everybody and leave nobody unsecured that could have been a problem. However, this may be signs of a different problem. We had all three suspects accounted for when the Slicer was killed. There is at least one other person working towards this goal.
She's like, "You're sure you had all 3 suspects accounted for? How do you know?"
He looks over to the other 2, but he says, again, if we eliminate the commander as a suspect, we had the director in custody. And I'm sorry, is it Brenna or Brea?
Brea, yeah.
And Brea was being questioned at the time of the Slicer's demise.
So if you do not suspect the commander, and it could not have been Brea, as far as you know, and you do suspect the director, then you must find out how the director could have pulled something like this off, if that is what you believe happened. And you must do so quickly, otherwise I will do so. Do not fail me.
Yes, master.
Yes, master.
Yeah, Sag will be like, understood.
And she says, I do share your thoughts on this, however, Wengo. I will accompany the commander as he goes about his lockdown. This facility needs oversight, clearly. Go about your business, but do it quickly.
Zara would start to head to where he would ask the others, should we find the director where she's apprehended?
Do we have a moment here? Like, are the 3 of us have any privacy right now at this point, or could we be somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, you guys can have the run of the facility, basically. Like, yeah, it's, Arden is basically piecing out to go with the commander to be like, look, I'm going to oversee him now. You guys go talk to the director.
Okay. So I would like to, that's fine. We'll go towards the director, but I'd like to kind of pull them off at some point, like in a hallway where there's a bay open to the side where I could have a word. Sorry, I'm trying to look at this too, but I have the mobile, so I have to pull this.
Oh, it's all good. And so as you sort of pull them aside, right? Wengo's pulling you aside. What would you say to them?
Yeah, so I want to say to them that, fellow apprentices, I will share with you something. I can sometimes sense the thoughts of others when the Force allows me to. The commander seems clueless. I fear we may be vouching for the wrong person by placing him in charge of Inferno Squadron. However, we do have an asset. I believe we can root out the true culprit and be sure of who it is if we use the commander and make it seem as though we blame him. I may be able to read the thoughts of the other 2, and based on their relief or confusion, ascertain which one is the true culprit.
Interesting. If you can sense their emotions and feelings, could we perhaps confront each, the director and Brea, individually? Say they have been found guilty and the punishment is death and execution. And a quick flick of my blade, in that moment you might sense if they truly fear for their life or if they feel they've been caught.
And I think Wengo would look over Zar at this point. Wengo is not a natural interrogator. And so he kind of looks at this person who seems a bit brawnier, probably a bit more familiar with inflicting pain and that sort of thing. And I think he would kind of say, I know what people feel, but I think now you may know what they fear better. I will Um, my brain is just like losing all the words. I will acquiesce to your expertise.
Zach, what do you think?
Sounds like a sound plan to me. I mean, people do. You know how people are when they're about to die.
Good. We shall approach him individually. We'll start with the director. And I would start walking to her cell.
Yep. And she's basically been put into a sort of like a small office, right? You know, where people would just, you know, whatever, they would be doing some work, guarded by a squad of, not a squad, but basically 2 stormtrooper guards. And currently the door is closed as you approach, and they kind of snap to attention as they see you.
Open the doors.
Copy that. And you see the director kind of just sitting there, leaning, you know, in a chair, drumming her, you know, fingers on the desk. Ah, you're back. What can I do for you this time?
Director Crenshaw, you have been found guilty of treason of the Empire, murder of a slicer. How say you?
Murder of us? What are you talking about? I've been
Very
in here
well.
the whole time.
He'll flick out his rapiers.
Zach is gonna go behind her and hold her down too, so that way she can.
This will give me much more pleasure than it shall give you, madam. And he'll take the rapier and he'll grab her head and he'll stop just short of like the tip is like right here, you know.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
she'll
he's
flinch.
looking-
Like, yeah.
he's looking for Rory to Wengo.
Yeah.
Like he stops and he looks.
Yeah. I mean, she's terrified. She's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, she thinks that, you know, but Rory, I think Wengo would also sense it's impossible. This is impossible. There's no way that they could know. And but through that, she's very, very, very terrified. Like, oh my gosh, you know, like I'm gonna die.
So I mean, he was going to stop anyway, but I think, like, you know, when I draw on the dark side, I kind of like all in 1 second, like, hear her thoughts. I kind of put my hand out and go, wait, I have it.
And I would still be holding her face with my rapier in it. And I said, yes, what is it, Wengo? Speak. Is she
Her
guilty?
Her guilt is clear. She does not understand how we know, but her guilt is clear. I mean, clear meaning, sorry, yes, like it's obvious.
What? What are you talking about?
I would spin her around if Zach lets go of the chair. I'm imagining it's a swivel chair, so it's a swivel chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of like swivel her around and say, wow, I had like 3 things that I'm thinking here. I don't know if anyone wants to go with them. I will say, we need to know everything. And then he'll look to Zar and Zach, and then he'll kind of add with a question mark at the end. Perhaps Brea could take the fall for you if we were brought up to speed.
She sits back for a minute and she says, "Tried to protect that girl, but she's foolish. She's headstrong, and she's idealistic. I think you will find that she was the one that murdered the Slicer. At least it must have been her. Nobody else could have gotten close without being suspected, but she She knows the computers. She knows the terminals. I don't have proof of anything, of course, as I've been in here, but I suspect it was her. She's brilliant, and this project can't be completed without her, but at this point, I mean, she's murdered somebody.
Wengo kind of grabs her by the shoulders and says, before you said, well, you thought, but you might as well have said that we were walking into some big dogs. Brea is not a big dog. Tell me what you know.
She looks at you and she says, this whole facility was never supposed to exist. Now the Emperor knows of it. Now, on the surface, a Grand Admiral in charge of something like this would make sense. But he didn't clear it with those on Coruscant. This was a man whose ambition led him to make a deal with the gangster in charge of this world for all of this. And when it all went wrong, presumably when Brea realized that in fact she was not doing this project for the Empire that she loved so much, but for a rogue admiral, a Grand Admiral with great power, and that we were working with criminals, gangsters, for the supplies that we needed. Well, I told you she's idealistic, but look what's happened. The Emperor's hand is here. Darth Vader was here. Once they are gone, you don't think Zarin will send his men to clean up this mess? He's a big dog with big teeth, and he likes to bite.
Zara would turn to Wango and say, so is the girl then? Time to find out the old-fashioned way.
I just want to be, is that what she meant when she said, how could they know? Like, I mean, because I offered her to pin it on Brea, but now she actually seems to believe that it's Brea. So I just want to make sure that I'm not reading too much into it. Well, maybe I am.
You might be reading too much into it. I don't know.
We could go do the thing with
Yeah.
Wango would say or Zara would say, Wango, we can try this with the other girl. If you sense something odd, then we'll know.
Yes.
So, Zach would look at both of them, make sure she was here. He would be like, since we know that Brea did it, we might as well kill her. She's no use to us.
Not yet, my friend.
I was trying
Must
to
know for sure.
I was trying to deceive.
Oh. She must answer to our master first. Like he would kind of,
Okay, well, with that, I think like Zach would pretty much like kick her under like the heel, like the back of her foot, grab her by the hair, drag her out to give her to Arlen so she can interrogate her while we go grab the other girl.
Whoa!
Oh,
wait.
No, Zara stops you.
Let's not do that.
You say no.
I get the feeling we have to bring like the right person to Arden Lynn
Yeah.
once, and not just send everybody down to her. Otherwise,
Zach,
I
you
don't
are
think.
I think you
too
guys should
overly
fight.
ambitious. We cannot take our master the wrong person. It must be. We don't want to waste our time with that.
I would find something to restrain her, and I would like pretty much like gag her and like tie her up and just
Okay.
Oh man.
Wengo is gonna look at all this and look to Zara and be like, I sense a lot of anger in that one.
Zara would just be like, "No, I have no time for this." And he would tell the guards on his way out, "Make sure no one goes in. If she tries to get out, kill her."
I think as we're like walking outside, we look at both of us, and he's like, "Where I come from, when you interrogate people, you end up killing them or getting a ransom for them. Just too much, you know, but like so much work."
To be honest, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Where I'm from, there are no interrogations or hostages. But I get the feeling that Arden Lin will want the right one.
So as we're walking to the to Bria's cell, I would turn to Wengo and Zach and say, "Round 2, I'll go in and do the same thing."
This time, don't bring up the slicer. I'd like to see if I could pick something up on it.
Understood. I'd push the door to open. I'd see her and hey, was she in the room?
Yeah. She's like in her quarters at this point. Like, I think they would have directed you to, she went back to her quarters. That's where she was told to go. She was stationed. And it's a small room, but she's just pacing nervously around and around and around. And she's like, "Oh, what is going on? Why are we in lockdown?"
Bria Daniels, you've been found guilty of treason against the Empire.
What?
Sending information to the Rebel Alliance. Execution is your punishment. What say you?
But that's impossible. I didn't commit treason against
so
the
be
Empire.
it. And I'll take my rapier and again I'll run to her and I'll grab her face and I'll
and she screams like
I'll
legit. It's
turn
like, ah! She tries to back up, and run. Yeah, like she's terrified. No, please, it wasn't me.
I'm looking at
and again, Wengo, through all the fear, you sense this sense of confusion. She's like, I didn't do, it was this whole idea of like, and it's kind of foggy, but she's guilty of something, but she's very confused about treason. Like, why are you saying she's committed treason? She's like, this doesn't make any sense. And then it's just panic.
He said, and again, I think, like Wengo says, "Stop." And he kind of moves in front of her and he says, "I know you think you were acting for the Empire. And that you did this because of Zarin and the Hutts. But there is..."
The Hutts? What are you talking about? I mean, yeah, the Hutts control this world, but what do you mean? I don't know what's going on here, but don't let that man kill me.
Can I take a conflict point and a strain to use one of these light side points to see what's going on in her head right now? Because now I'm getting a little confused.
Yeah. When you mention Zarin and the Hutts, again, it's just more confusion. She's like, why are they accusing me of treason? I mean, it's not treason. Like, I mean, it's bad, but it's not treason.
So he gets this really weird look on his face, and he just says, "If not treason, what did you do?" He's just talking with her, like, right off of her sentence in her head.
And she just looks over to Zar and back to you, and then back to Zar and back to you. She's like freaking out, like not sure what to do. And you get this sense, Wengo, that she doesn't know what to do, because you feel like she is trying to, there's somebody or something that's very, very, that she cares about a lot, and that she's trying to protect, and you can't figure out quite what's up, but there's this very strong emotion tied to, you're getting the sense somebody in the related to this whole thing. And then
Why?
Yeah.
So I'm going to step away for a second. I'm going to look back at Zach and say, she won't wag her tongue. Zach, why don't you interrogate her a little your way?
He would look at him, but he would be like, okay. Nah. I know Sauron is like holding her with his spear, and he will walk by her just up to her ear and be like, look, tell me what I want to know. I'm going to kill you, then I'm going to take the director, find out any family, anybody close to you, and then we're going to kill them. And then he will step away.
So sorry, your mic was a little hard to hear, but you said, we're gonna do what we need to do to you, then we're gonna kill the director and her family, and then we're gonna.
Pretty much, he was telling her that if she didn't cooperate with us, we're gonna kill her, get the director, find out any information on her and any of her family, and then get rid of them.
Okay. Yeah. And so then she says, okay, all right, fine, me, I killed the Slicer because find out that the information. Yeah, you're right. Huts. Can't be working for the Huts. This isn't not what I signed up for. But that Darth Vader was gonna show up. As far as I know, it's just a legend. Went to hell and then, well, so you gotta kill me. Just kill me. Fine. Just do it.
With that, he would ask her, did anybody help you, like the director or anybody in the facility?
Oh, he would have helped me. He needed to help me.
Can I sense when she was actually confessed at the point where she was like, I did it, I sent the information? Do I pick up anything there from using my force power?
Yep, that very same, like, she cares very, very deeply about someone, and you sense this sort of resolution. Like you feel like something has finally like clicked, and she has given up something, but she's also very determined at this point. And it's all kind of hazy, but those are the sort of emotions that you're getting from her. The thoughts are literally just what's coming out of her mouth. She's thinking the same thing.
I have a hunch, but I don't know if it's... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Zar.
Zar would tell her, funny, we never mentioned anything about a Slicer being killed.
She's like, yeah, well, you're right. You didn't. But obviously, I'd be the only one who would know that, wouldn't I, if I was the killer? So, yes, it was me. Just if you're gonna kill me, just do it.
I suggest we make her an offer. Let's say we can do as she asks. We can turn her into Arlen, and she could be put down to death. And then we can go kill Crenshaw's children for fun. Or we can turn in Crenshaw for what Crenshaw did. And we can find a position within the true empire for our friend here.
She, I mean, like, she can hear you talking, right? And she's looking very confused, and she's like, what are you talking about? What did Crenshaw do? I'm telling you, I was the one that did this.
I do not believe you. I believe it was Crenshaw, and I am a very stubborn person. But if you insist it was you, then I will gladly complete my mission, turn you into Ardenlin, and be done with the damn thing. And then kill Crenshaw's children as payback for what I know she did. I am a sick person.
And she's definitely like highly emotional right now, but she's like, so what you're saying is if I lie and I say it was Crenshaw, then they'll kill Crenshaw and they might kill her children anyway. And if I tell the
You're
truth
lying now.
if I
You
tell
don't-
the truth, and then you'll kill her family anyway.
You care for somebody more than yourself. That's why you're so eager to throw yourself on the spikes. Nobody here is fooled. Either tell me who it is you care for, or I will assume it is Crenshaw and simply have my fun.
You get the sense that you need to press just a little bit harder, but you feel like something is about to crack.
I think Zara would see Wango's lead because he didn't feel these senses, so now it's like going off for him. And he would grab her, face, and he would start to squeeze with all his might, but just so he doesn't break anything. And he would say, "If you tell us the truth, her children will live."
And she says, "Do you promise?"
You have my word.
And just so you know, we had to make no such promises to her when she told us it was you.
And like she's reeling, right? And she says,
Oh, wait. Before you say that, could I have a story? Is there a story point left? I
Yeah.
want to pull out a recording of when Crenshaw actually said that. Yes.
"Okay." And she hears it, and
I put it by her ear. Listen to her lying tongue.
where you would expect this sort of like a gut punch, right? Like she's realizing she's been betrayed. You don't actually see that on her face. She's sad and she's devastated, right? But like you're getting the impression that it's because she's gotten to the end of her rope and there's nowhere left to go. And she's broken. And she says, "Could have only been her. Unless it was me. And well, when I found out that it was her, she told me. She was just trying to save her son. And well, we knew that the Slicer was going to find out that it was her access code. So she asked me to take care of it. And I did. She just wanted to save her son. She just wants to get him out. If you can do that, can you do that?"
Get him out of what?
She's like, I don't know all the details, but I think something happened and he got snatched in a bad way, and he's languishing in an Imperial prison somewhere, or a camp. I don't know. I don't have the details, but the Empire won't let her out, no matter what. Let him out, no matter what she does. And I think maybe she thought, I don't know, if the Empire wouldn't, maybe the rebels would.
I think Zach would look at her and give like a big ring, and he would be like, "Don't worry, we'll take care of him."
She's like, but don't kill him, please. She would never have done this if she's like, I don't know. The Empire has their reasons for what they do, but that's her son.
I won't kill him.
And her daughter? You won't kill her daughter either?
No. I don't care.
And Zara would kind of loosen up on her face and say, "Hush now, girl. You must answer to our master. We cannot kill you first, but you are an accomplice to treason against His Highest Majesty the Empire. And for that, I cannot abide." And I'll quickly pull my rapier out, and I'll hold her head, and I'll start to carve the rebel insignia on her face. "May this follow you to your dying day, rebel."
You guys will absolutely have to hold her down. Like,
I hope that they come to my aid. Like,
I would get like behind and pretty much grab her like that.
Oh.
I think Wingo will watch
All
if
right.
they're good.
may your shame follow you, traitor.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Spit on her face.
You're gonna take a big old pile of conflict. Let me just find the. Well, I'll figure it out afterwards. But yeah. Oh, gross. All right, she's screaming. She's like thrashing. Like, you can't quite make the symbol the way you want it to, because you can't hold her still enough to make it actually like work properly. But like oh God, yeah, she's and then it's bleeding, and the blood's coming down her eyes, and she's just like, blah. Yeah.
So I think I would have the command, call the guards to take her to Arden Lynn, and I'd look at the others and I'd say, "We have one more traitor to mark before we send her to our master." And I'd have like my rapier, and there'd be like blood dripping on it. And he'd want to go like see the director and do the same before he takes her to Arden.
Okay. All right.
Sorry to be a scumbag, but while he's doing that, may I... Oh, man, I feel like such a scumbag. May I go to Arlen ahead of them? I know, it's so scummy.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
You want to go to Arden alone?
What a son of a bitch.
Yeah. I want to go to Arden first. It's terrible. I feel terrible.
I love it. I love it.
So,
Licked bastard.
all right, I would imagine, like, so how is this scene going down? So you guys are all kind of walking, with Brea to what? To Arden?
I thought we were going to leave Brea in the room. She's not the one we're turning in for being a traitor.
Right.
I had the guards send her to Arden while we walked.
You had the guards.
Oh, okay, yeah, because she's guilty of something, so we're sending her down there. And then I guess we were all gonna go walk to the next room.
Yeah.
And you were gonna grab her, mutilate her face, and then send her to Arden as well, probably following behind. And I'm going to, like, I imagine it like I come up to the door as they're going in, and I kind of like, shadow step a little bit and wait till they get kind of caught up in everything. And then kind of...
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Sure.
Love it.
And so I imagine you guys would be sort of on your way to go find the director. And
I'm hearing that while I'm carving up the director's face, if Zach partakes,
I'm gonna hold it down for you.
Yeah, so then me and Zach are like carving her face.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was
running
after.
away.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. All right. So you peace out while they're torturing this woman. Okay. That's fine. And so, so she's screaming and you're doing your thing and just being, a mean, evil jerk. That's fine. Wango, you'd be able to quickly find Arden. They've gone through the lockdown procedures, and now they're basically like, at the computer terminal where the slicer's body is, and they're like doing a forensic, like, not her, but overseeing a forensic, investigation. And like before you even get to her, she turns to you and sees you. And she kind of, and she sort of catches your eye for a moment. And it's almost as if like everything else in the room goes blurry and you just see her and she's looking at you. And then she kind of cocks her eyebrow a little bit and she's like,
And I approach. I think I like go on like one knee with like my hand down. You know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
probably rise. And I say to her like lightly. I say, "It was certainly Crenshaw. She is the traitor. She was blackmailed to rescue her son, who languishes in an imperial detention facility. Both her and Brea were willing to put the blame on the innocent party. I bring you this because I care not which one is called the true traitor, but that is the information as it stands."
She's like, but it is your findings that Director Crenshaw is in fact the true traitor?
Correct. And her son, the Leverage, still languishes in the Imperial prison.
And you are certain of this?
As certain as those who told me are. But they believe all these things to be true.
Good work, Wengo. Good work. Go find the director and bring her to me. We'll finish this.
And yeah, so when Wango leaves the room, I have no idea how much time has passed or whatever, but he's going to do his best to run back to the room before they're exiting it. If he, that's his goal. Although he might be caught halfway.
You wouldn't have enough time to do this whole thing and get back before they're leaving the room, but by the time you guys are done doing this, you realize that Wango is gone. How would you react to that?
I imagine Kale's like got specks of blood in his face. And he's kind of like, and he's just like in the adrenaline moment. And he grabs the director and just starts walking her to where Arden is. He's not.
Well, you guys aren't in with the director yet. You guys would have just finished, torturing Brea or carving the thing in her forehead.
We're torturing the director, not Brea. We got to her before.
Oh wow, I'm very confused. Okay, I thought it was Brea. So you guys went immediately to the director?
Well, we carved up Brea's face. I told the guards to take her to Arden Lynn.
Yeah.
Then we walked to the director, and while we did, Wango, when the door opened up to like the director's office, like I imagine a movie, like, and you see like Kale with his rapier there.
Oh, okay.
And then he just goes and Zach and him.
I got it.
I attack her, and then Wango splits.
I thought Wango was saying he split like while you were torturing Brea. Okay, well, whatever. That's fine. So, so regardless, you're done, and you realize that Wango is not there. And does that? Do you care?
He's just. I'm just gonna start. I think I would look at Zach and just start grab like he has. I would imagine I grab the director and I look at Zach as if he's gonna grab the director and we're gonna just start walking to Arden. And if we run into Wango, and then Kale might have a question for him. But right now he's
right.
Okay. Kind of like caught up in the whole thing.
Yeah, Zach wouldn't really care. I mean, he would help him bring her, but he would like take his hand and like slip it in her pocket and like grab her keys. That way later he can like go in her office and like see what's in her little like lock thing.
You want to loot her office? Great. All right. And so it does not matter the system. They will try to murder Hobo and loot the body no matter what. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So you guys are bringing her sort of back, right? Bleeding and screaming and angry and whatever. And you would have left Brea in this sort of, bloody puddle on, kind of in the still alive, but
while we're taking her over there, Zach is gonna like pretty much trying to make her go insane, so he would be like repeating to her like her children's name, like we're gonna get her children.
Okay. Okay, all right. So inflicting emotional abuse, one might say. Good for you. You're mean. Okay. Cool. You guys are gonna get so much conflict. It's gonna be gross.
Hey, it's her fault, man.
See.
She kept sending us back and forth.
It's not her fault. But hey, you know what? That's okay. So yeah, so kind of as you're doing this, right? And then I think Wengo would be kind of making his way back, and it would be that sort of thing where maybe almost like skid into the hallway as you're like, oh, there they are. Shoot. Like I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, but like
Hey guys.
you definitely see him now. Hi guys.
Brother, where were you? We missed you back there.
I do not have a taste for blood, to be honest.
We must take her to Arden.
Agreed.
That would be it for me. I would just start walking there.
Okay.
You didn't think too much of it.
All right.
Wengo would like look at Zach and nod, just be like, and then kind of get behind him and walk around.
All right.
I think Zach would actually have Wengo like grab her, and he would go into her office.
Oh, all right.
Okay,
Great.
yeah, I'll take over.
Yep. And so you kind of make it into this, you know, the central area of this facility where Arden is. The director is just, you know, at this point she's whimpering, right? There's a lot of pain, right? And you know, she's kind of holding onto her forehead because it's painful. And I think Arden sees you bringing her in, right? And she looks directly to you, Wengo, and Zar, you would notice that she largely, I mean, she kind of acknowledges that you're there and then just as easily dismisses you, and she's like, well done, Wengo. Well done. Bring
And
me
my
the-
eyes would be like, what? Master, we've brought you the traitor here.
And she kind of looks over to Wengo, and then she looks to you, and she says, yes, and I see you cut on her a little bit. You felt that was necessary?
Let her walk in shame all her life. I do not presume to know what you do with her, but she has been marked a traitor of the Empire. And that she cannot escape.
And she says to you, she's like, your instincts are good, but you must be careful. Even though the dark side gives you strength, actions like this can have detrimental effects on you, on your body. You must learn to embrace the dark side, but you must also learn control.
Yes, my master.
And then she looks to Wengo and she's like, you both have done well. You rooted out the traitor. And then she looks around and she's like, where's the other one? Zach.
Wengo is totally a jerk and just shrugs.
Did you tell Zar where he was going? Zach?
I don't think I told anybody where I was going. I just grabbed her keys and pretty much just took off.
I am unsure of where he is, master. He was escorting me here at the director when he disappeared off.
I think if anything, you guys will probably see him like a few minutes later walking by with like a bunch of things up in his hands.
He looks really overweight because he has a bunch of stuff in his cloak.
Yeah. And so I think she would say, you've done well, my young apprentices. You have accomplished the mission that I have set for you. Return to the shuttle. I won't be long. Then we will talk about furthering your training. And she looks over, Zach, to you, and she says, you most especially. You must learn control. Not just of the Force, but of your impulses. Theft, such as that, could get you into trouble one of these days. It is not bad to take what you want, but make sure that if you do so, nothing will come back on you. Do you understand?
He would nod and then he would be like, don't worry, it's not trouble if you don't get caught. And he would like flip the keys and put it in her hands and just keep walking to the ship.
What the hell?
Did you say cute walk?
He would, he would spin the keys
Yeah,
in
yeah.
her hands and just keep walking.
Keep walking.
Oh, keep
Yeah.
walking. I thought he said cute walk, like do 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 do.
Listen, like, don't get me wrong, he does like messing around with women, but that's a woman he would not like to mess with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Nice. And so I think as you kind of get onto the shuttle, you would feel this surge of just pain and anger and fear and whatever, and you would hear these screams, and you would kind of hear all this stuff in the background. And I imagine that, maybe you were tuning it out because at this point you're probably feeling pretty good about yourselves. You're like, all right, the boss lady gave us props. We did something. We're kind of badasses right now. And I think it would be like probably like a low key, like Sith strut as you kind of like, walk onto the shuttle. And, maybe 15 minutes later, Arden returns and she looks to you and she says, you have done well. Better than I expected, in fact. She says, you've proven to me that you can take the next step in your training. This is good. You've also proven that you can use the Force and use the gifts that you possess to be effective. And we will need that in the days to come. We will return to the ship. You will train, but you will gain access to some training and knowledge that I am not able to give you. We possess holocrons and other artifacts of the ancient Sith aboard this ship. You've proven yourselves worthy. When we return, you will receive more details, but know this, my young apprentices, there is a lot of expectation on you now. Well done. Scene wipe. I think everything, you would feel the shuttle lurch forward, and then there would, it'd go up into orbit, and you get on the ship, and then the ship would, start to go into hyperspace. And I think, right before the whole thing would end with that jump to light speed, I think you would hear again in that sort of like you're walking about your quarters of the ship, and you would come across like, Arden is in a hallway talking again to this communications officer, and she would say, alert the commander. We did discover the traitor and it has been dealt with, but we have not been able to locate the information, what was sent. Our work here is not done. and then jump to light speed. Scene ends. Game over.
Yay.
Well done.
That was
So we will at some point dole out some conflict. I will tell you that I'm gonna have to decide if it was unnecessary violence or torture that you got, because the stakes are 5 or 10 conflict. So you've gained a lot of conflict there. I will say that Wango did not directly get involved with that, however, did stand by and let that happen, so that will gain you some conflict as well.
I never touched nobody.
Nope, that's true, but you let it happen. And
Never
even
touched
though
nobody.
you're a piece of work, the force
he tried to
doesn't.
screw us. He
Yeah.
tried to screw us with getting Arden first.
Yeah.
The-
That was good
Yeah.
roleplay. I loved it.
To be fair, I've been looking forward to Dark Disciples for a while now.
Oh, that was
I've had a
great.
lot of time to marinate on exactly how I'm going to screw you guys over
Yeah,
whenever we
that
play.
was really
So I
good.
apologize.
I know you guys worked so well together. I was like, what is happening here? They're just like, cooperating and stuff. I was like, are these not the same players as in the last campaign? What's going on?
It's only a matter of time since the shit hits the fan.
Yeah. Awesome. You guys are going to gain, I think you're going to gain 30 experience for this one because you did a lot of good work. You solved the mystery, obviously, and you did discover some important pieces of information, and you worked together to accomplish your goals. So 30 XP. What I would like is if you guys do end up deciding to, however you want to spend your XP, whether it's on skills or talents or force powers or whatever, kind of come up with a reason for that narratively. And what we can also potentially do is, if you want to spend it on skills, let me know, because we might be able to, if it's a skill that you don't have, sometimes the holocrons can provide you with access to training on a skill that you may or may not have. So it just depends on what it is. But yeah, so that is that. And so hopefully whoever was watching enjoyed the show. Continue to expect more dark side goodness as we go along. This campaign is structured in a way that different people can participate at different times depending on scheduling, and they all are sort of working towards the goal of becoming more powerful and hopefully proving themselves to be the indispensable apprentice for Arden Lin.
Mm-hmm.
So we shall see. I don't know if we will pick up on the 22nd or if our next session is on the 29th, but expect to see on Sundays generally at 8 p.m. Eastern-ish more Dark Disciples. And of course, if you're watching on Twitch, go ahead, please don't forget to follow, maybe give it a little mention here. If you are watching this on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Also go ahead and give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like it, and make sure you comment, because I like comments, good or bad, I don't care, but I just want to hear from you guys. So have a good one.
Hashtag Sith Lord Wango.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Let's we can start up a hashtag. Whichever one gets the most hashtags, we'll know is the favor, and maybe there will be a favorable encounter with Arden Lin. We'll see. But anyway, have a good one, everyone.